Dr. Kim Tae-ho pressed his face against the cold window of the research ship New Horizon. Stars filled the dark space around them, but one thing was different. Something huge floated in the distance, silent and still. "Bo-ra, come look at this," he called to his friend. Lee Bo-ra was the ship's chief engineer. She had worked with Tae-ho for 5 years. They trusted each other completely. Bo-ra walked over and looked out the window. Her eyes grew wide. "What is that thing?" The object was massive. It looked like a ship, but unlike any ship they had ever seen. Its surface was dark metal covered in strange patterns. The patterns seemed to move when they looked at them, but that was impossible. "Park Woo-jin, start scanning that object," Tae-ho ordered. Woo-jin was their communications expert. He was young but very smart with computers and machines. Woo-jin's fingers moved quickly over his controls. "Sir, this is strange. My scans show nothing. The ship appears to be dead. No power, no life signs, no energy of any kind." Choi So-min stepped forward. She was their security chief. So-min always looked serious and ready for trouble. "How big is it?" she asked. "About 10 kilometers long," Woo-jin replied. "Maybe 3 kilometers wide. It's huge." Tae-ho studied the mysterious ship. As a xenoarchaeologist, he had spent his life studying ancient alien civilizations. This ship was different from anything in the galactic databases. The patterns on its hull seemed alive somehow. "Sir, I'm getting a message from Earth Command," Woo-jin said. "They want us to catalog the ship and move on to our next mission." Tae-ho felt something pull at his heart. This ship was special. He could feel it. "No," he said. "We need to investigate this properly." Bo-ra looked at him with concern. "Tae-ho, you know the rules. We can't just ignore orders from Earth Command." "Sometimes rules need to be broken," So-min said quietly. Everyone looked at her in surprise. So-min never broke rules. Tae-ho nodded. "So-min is right. This could be the discovery of a lifetime. Look at those patterns. Look at the size. This ship is ancient. It might hold answers to questions we've been asking for centuries." The ship hung in space like a sleeping giant. It had been there for a very long time. Dust from space covered parts of it. Small asteroids had hit it, leaving marks on its surface. But the ship remained whole and strong. "The metal is unknown," Woo-jin reported. "My computers can't identify what it's made of. It's not steel or aluminum or anything we know." Bo-ra ran more scans. "The ship's design makes no sense. These curves and angles don't follow any engineering principles I know. It's like someone built it using completely different physics." Tae-ho made his decision. "We're going aboard that ship." "Sir, that could be dangerous," So-min warned. "We don't know what's inside." "That's exactly why we need to look," Tae-ho replied. "Prepare the shuttle. We'll take a small team over." Bo-ra shook her head. "This is crazy, Tae-ho, but I trust you. If you think this is important, then we'll do it." They prepared carefully. So-min checked all their weapons and safety equipment. Bo-ra made sure their shuttle was working perfectly. Woo-jin prepared his scanning devices and computers. As they flew toward the ancient ship, it grew larger and larger. Up close, they could see how truly massive it was. The New Horizon looked like a tiny insect next to it. "There," Bo-ra pointed. "I see what looks like a docking bay." The docking bay was enormous. Their small shuttle looked lost inside it. As they landed, their lights showed strange symbols covering the walls. The symbols were the same as the patterns they had seen on the ship's outer hull. "Air is breathable," Woo-jin reported. "Temperature is cold but not freezing. How is there air in here?" So-min stepped out first, her weapon ready. "Clear," she called. The others followed. Their footsteps echoed in the huge space. Everything was quiet. Everything was still. "This place feels old," Bo-ra whispered. "Really old." Tae-ho studied the symbols on the walls. They were beautiful and complex. Some looked like mathematics, others looked like art. All of them seemed important somehow. "These aren't just decorations," he said. "These symbols mean something. They're trying to tell us something." They walked deeper into the ship. Corridors stretched in all directions. The walls curved in strange ways that made their eyes hurt to look at. Sometimes a corridor seemed to go up, but when they walked down it, they found themselves going down instead. "This is impossible," Bora muttered. "These passages don't make sense. It's like the ship is bigger inside than outside." Wu Jin was scanning everything with his devices. "I'm not getting normal readings. It's like the ship exists in our space, but follows different rules." They found rooms filled with strange equipment. Some machines looked like computers, but they had no screens or keyboards. Others looked like they might be weapons, but they had no triggers or controls. In one large room, they found something that might have been a command center. Curved surfaces covered in symbols surrounded a central area. Everything was dark and silent. "Whoever built this ship was very advanced," Taeho said. "Much more advanced than us." So Min pointed to marks on the floor. "Look at these. They might be footprints or tracks. The beings who built this ship were about our size." "But where did they go?" Bora asked. "And how long has this ship been empty?" Wu Jin was studying his instruments. "Based on the dust and space damage, this ship has been drifting for thousands of years, maybe tens of thousands." They explored for hours. Every room held new mysteries. Every corridor led to more questions. The ship was like a puzzle with pieces that didn't fit together in normal ways. "We should go back and report this," Somin finally said. "We need more people and better equipment to study this properly." Taeho didn't want to leave. He felt like the ship was waiting for something. The symbols on the walls seemed to watch them as they passed. "One more room," he said. "Then we'll go." They entered a chamber that was different from all the others. This room felt alive somehow. The symbols on the walls pulsed with a very faint light. In the center stood a pillar covered in the same strange writing. "The light is getting brighter," Bora said with excitement. She was right. The symbols were glowing more strongly now. The whole room seemed to be waking up. "We should leave," Somin said. "Now." But Taeho stepped closer to the pillar. He felt drawn to it. He reached out his hand and almost touched the glowing symbols. "Don't!" Wu Jin shouted. But something was happening. The symbols were pulsing faster. The light was getting brighter. The ship itself seemed to be stirring from a very long sleep. They ran back to their shuttle as quickly as they could. Behind them, the ship was coming alive. Lights flickered on in corridors they had walked through in darkness. Machines began to hum with power they had been without for millennia. As their shuttle flew back to the new horizon, they watched the ancient ship glow brighter and brighter. After thousands of years of silence, something had awakened it. "What did we do?" Bora asked. Taeho looked back at the mysterious vessel. "I think we found something that was waiting for us." None of them realized that their simple presence, their human voices echoing through ancient halls, had triggered something that would change the galaxy forever. The ship had been sleeping, waiting for the right visitors to arrive. And now those visitors were here. The next morning, Taeho couldn't sleep. The ancient ship was still glowing in the distance. Its lights pulsed like a heartbeat. Something inside him told him they needed to go back. "Bora, we have to return to that ship," he said over breakfast. Bora looked tired. She had been awake all night thinking about what they had seen. "Taeho, I've been running calculations all night. That ship should not be able to do what it's doing. The energy readings make no sense." Wu Jin joined them at the table. "I've been monitoring the ship's signals. It's sending out some kind of transmission, but I can't understand what it means." "What kind of transmission?" Somin asked as she sat down. "It's not like any communication system I know," Wu Jin replied. "It's more like music than data, but there are patterns in it, like it's trying to say something." Taeho stood up. "Then we need to go back and find out what it wants to tell us." This time they brought more equipment. Bora packed extra power cells and scanning devices. Somin brought bigger weapons. Wu Jin loaded his shuttle with every computer and translation program they had. As they approached the ancient ship, they could see that more lights were on. Windows that had been dark yesterday now glowed with soft blue light. The ship looked more alive than before. "The docking bay is open," Bora observed. "It's like the ship is inviting us in." They landed in the same spot as yesterday. But now, the docking bay was lit up. Symbols on the walls glowed brightly. The air felt warmer. "Temperature is perfect now," Wu Jin reported. "It's like the ship adjusted its environment for us." They walked through corridors that had been dark before. Now gentle lights showed them the way. The symbols on the walls pulsed as they passed, like the ship was watching them. "This is incredible," Bo-Ra whispered. "The ship is reacting to our presence." They reached the command center they had found yesterday. Now it was fully lit. Curved surfaces showed moving patterns that looked like star maps and equations. In the center, the pillar of symbols was glowing brightly. "Look at this," Teho said, pointing to one of the curved surfaces. "These symbols are changing. They're responding to us being here." Wu Jin set up his computers and started trying to record everything. "The patterns are too complex for my translation programs. This isn't just language. It's like mathematics and music and art all mixed together." Somin was studying the room carefully. "This definitely looks like a control center, but there are no chairs, no control panels we can recognize. How did the builders operate their ship?" As they explored, Wu Jin became frustrated with his equipment. "Come on, work," he said loudly in Korean. "This stupid computer can't translate anything." Suddenly, all the symbols in the room flashed brighter. The patterns on the curved surfaces changed completely. New symbols appeared, and these ones looked different from the others. "What just happened?" Bo-Ra asked. "I don't know," Wu Jin replied. "All I did was complain about my computer." Teho studied the new symbols. "Say something else in Korean," he told Wu Jin. "Like what?" "Anything. Just talk." Wu Jin shrugged. My name is Park Wu Jin. I come from Earth. We are explorers looking for knowledge." The room exploded with light. Symbols raced across every surface. The pillar in the center began to hum with energy. The whole ship seemed to vibrate with excitement. "It's responding to Korean," Bo-Ra shouted over the humming. "The ship understands Korean." Somin grabbed her weapon. "Is it dangerous?" Before anyone could answer, the air in front of them began to shimmer. A shape appeared like a person made of light and shadow. The figure was tall and graceful, with features that seemed almost human but not quite. The figure spoke, and somehow they all understood its words even though it wasn't speaking Korean or any human language. "Welcome, inheritors," the figure said. "I have waited so long for you to arrive." The four humans stared in amazement. They were talking to something that had been built by aliens thousands of years ago. "Who are you?" Teho asked carefully. "I am the guardian of this vessel. My builders called this ship Eternal Vigilance. We have been waiting for species with the true voice to find us." "The true voice?" Bo-Ra asked. "Your speech carries harmonics that other species do not possess. When you speak with emotion, with intent, with the full range of human feeling, you create vibrations that can interface with our technology." Wu Jin stepped forward. "You mean our language is special somehow?" "Not just your language. Your entire way of communicating. Other species speak with their minds or with simple sounds, but humans speak with their hearts. This is what we have been waiting for." The Guardian gestured, and the curved surfaces around them showed new images. They saw a galaxy full of different alien species. Some looked like insects, others like plants or machines. But none of them looked quite like humans. My builders were called the Firstborn. They were the first intelligent species in this galaxy. They spread life to many worlds and guided young civilizations. "Where are they now?" Somin asked. The Guardian's expression became sad. "They transcended physical existence long ago. But before they left, they built ships like this one. We were meant to wait and watch until the right species emerged." "And you think humans are that species?" Teho asked. "We do not think it. We know it. Your voices wake our ships from their sleep. Your emotions power our systems. Your intentions guide our responses." The Guardian showed them more images. They saw humans exploring space, making friends, with alien species solving problems that others could not solve. "But why us?" Bo-Ra asked. "What makes humans so special?" "You are curious without being destructive. You are brave without being foolish. You feel deeply but think clearly. Most importantly, you can change and grow. The firstborn saw these qualities in humanity's future long before you reached the stars. Woojin was recording everything on his computers. How many ships like this are there? Many ships sleep throughout the galaxy. Each one waits for human voices to wake it. Each one carries knowledge and tools that will help humanity guide the other species toward a better future. Somin looked worried. That sounds like a big responsibility. It is the greatest responsibility imaginable, the Guardian agreed, but the firstborn believed humans were capable of handling it. The Guardian explained more about the ship. It was not just a vessel, but a repository of all firstborn knowledge. It contained technology that could heal worlds, feed billions, and travel between stars in ways humans had never imagined. However, the Guardian continued, awakening this ship has sent a signal across the galaxy. Others will know we are active again. Others? Taeho asked. The Devourers. They are ancient machines that consume everything in their path. The firstborn fought them long ago. The war was what forced the firstborn to transcend rather than remain in physical form. The room suddenly felt colder. Are these Devourers coming? Here. Somin asked, her hand moving toward her weapon. They will come. They always come when our ships wake up. But that is why we waited for humans. You will need to learn to use this ship's systems to defend not just yourselves, but all life in the galaxy. Bora stared at the Guardian. You're saying we have to fight ancient war machines with technology we don't understand? You will understand it, the Guardian said confidently. Because you have the true voice. What takes other species years to learn, humans can master in days when they speak to our machines directly. Taeho felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. How long do we have? The Devourers are far away, but they move quickly once they detect our signals. Perhaps months, perhaps less. The four humans looked at each other. They had come looking for archaeological treasures. Instead, they had found the fate of the galaxy resting in their hands. We'll need help, Taeho said. More humans, ships, weapons. Yes, the Guardian agreed. But remember, the true power is not in weapons or ships. It is in the human voice, and the human heart, and the human spirit that refuses to give up. As they prepared to return to their own ship to call for help, the Guardian gave them one final piece of information. There are other humans in the galaxy who have found our ships. They do not yet know about each other or about the Devourers. You must find them. You must unite them. Only together can humanity become what the firstborn always knew you could be. The ancient ship was no longer sleeping, it was awake and ready for war. 3 days after their discovery, the New Horizon was crowded with new arrivals. Earth Command had sent a team of specialists to study the ancient ship. Among them was Dr. Yoon Hae-won, the galaxy's best expert on alien languages. Hae-won was a quiet woman who spent most of her time listening rather than speaking. But when she did speak, everyone paid attention. She had decoded more alien languages than anyone else alive. Show me everything, she said to Taeho as soon as she arrived. They took her to the Eternal Vigilance. The Guardian appeared as soon as they entered the command center. Hae-won stared at the figure made of light with wonder in her eyes. Remarkable, she whispered. A true artificial intelligence that has survived for millennia. I am more than artificial intelligence, the Guardian said. I contain the memories and personalities of many firstborn. In a way, they live on through me. Hae-won began asking questions immediately. She wanted to understand everything about firstborn language and culture. The Guardian patiently explained how his people had developed over millions of years. The firstborn were not like humans, the Guardian said. They were purely logical beings. They made decisions based on mathematics and probability, not emotion or instinct. Then why did they choose humans as their successors? Hae-won asked. Because they realized that logic alone was not enough. They could build great machines and solve complex problems, but they could not inspire others or make sacrifices for love. They could not take risks based on hope rather than calculation. The Guardian showed them images of firstborn civilization. Their cities were beautiful but cold. Their people worked together perfectly but without joy. Everything they built was efficient but lacked soul. When they first observed humanity, the firstborn were puzzled, the Guardian continued. Humans made illogical decisions. They took unnecessary risks. They wasted resources on art and music and celebrations. Bora smiled. And they decided that was a good thing? They decided it was necessary. Logic without emotion leads to stagnation. The firstborn became so focused on perfection that they stopped growing. Humans, with all your chaos and irrationality, never stop changing and improving. Wu Jin had been working with the ship's systems. He was learning to communicate with the ancient technology using spoken Korean. When he spoke with strong emotion, the ship responded more powerfully. "Watch this," he said to the group. "Computer, show me the star map." Nothing happened. Then he tried again, but with more feeling. "Please, honored ship, we need to see where we are in the galaxy." Immediately, a three-dimensional map appeared in the air above them. It showed their location and thousands of other points of light scattered across the galaxy. Each light represents a sleeping ship, the Guardian explained. Ships waiting for human voices to wake them. Heywan studied the map carefully. "There are so many. How do we possibly wake them all?" "You don't need to wake them all at once," the Guardian replied. "But you do need to wake enough of them to defend against the Devourers." Somin had been quiet, but now she spoke up. "Tell us about these Devourers. What are we really facing?" The Guardian's expression became grim. "The Devourers are self-replicating. Machines. They consume matter to build more of themselves. They have no purpose except to expand and consume." Images appeared showing massive metal creatures that looked like mechanical spiders the size of battleships. They moved in huge swarms, eating everything in their path. "The firstborn fought them for thousands of years," the Guardian continued. "The war consumed entire star systems. In the end, the firstborn realized they could not win through force alone. So they gave up?" Bora asked. "No. They transcended. They became beings of pure energy and thought. The Devourers could no longer consume them because they no longer had physical bodies." Teho frowned. "But that meant abandoning everyone else in the galaxy." "It was not abandonment. It was sacrifice. The firstborn knew that someday a species would emerge that could succeed where they had failed. They built these ships as gifts for that species." Heywan was taking notes on everything. "What makes you think humans can defeat the Devourers when the firstborn could not?" "Because humans fight with their hearts as well as their minds. The Devourers are logical machines. They follow programmed behaviors. But humans are unpredictable. You find solutions that pure logic cannot calculate." Elork. Guardian showed them recordings of human explorers throughout the galaxy. They saw humans making friends with alien species, solving diplomatic problems and finding creative solutions to complex challenges. "Every other species we have observed fights either with pure logic or pure instinct," the Guardian explained. Humans combine both and add something more: imagination. Over the following days, more ships arrived at their location. Earth Command was taking the discovery very seriously. They sent military vessels, science ships, and diplomatic craft. Admiral Shin Jae-kyung arrived aboard the battleship Seoul's Pride. He was a serious man who had fought in many space battles. He looked at the ancient ship with the eyes of a military commander. "This is all very interesting," Admiral Shin said to Taeho, "but I need to know if this ship can fight. We may be facing an enemy that destroyed an entire civilization." The Guardian overheard the conversation. "Admiral, would you like to see what the Eternal Vigilance can do?" They all gathered in the command center as the Guardian began to demonstrate the ship's capabilities. First, he showed them the weapon systems. Beams of energy that could cut through planets, shields that could stop any known weapon, engines that could travel faster than light in ways human science had never imagined. "But these are just tools," the Guardian said. "The real power is in the integration between human operators and firstborn technology." He gestured to Bora. "Chief Engineer Lee, please speak to the ship's engineering systems." Bora looked nervous. "What should I say?" "Anything." but speak with authority and intent. Bora took a deep breath. Ship's engines, I need you to prepare for maximum speed. The entire ship hummed with power. Energy readings on their instruments went off the charts. The Eternal Vigilance could now travel faster than any human ship had ever moved. The ship responds to your emotional state and intention, the Guardian explained. The stronger your purpose, the more powerful the response. Admiral Shin looked impressed despite himself. How many humans would need to operate this ship? Ideally about 50. But in an emergency, as few as 5 humans with strong voices could control all systems. HFY had discovered something else. Guardian, I've been studying your language. Records. It seems like humans aren't the only species that could potentially use your technology. That is correct, the Guardian replied. But humans are the only species that naturally possesses all the necessary qualities. Others might learn to use some systems, but humans can use them all. Wujin was experimenting with different communication methods. What if we taught other species to speak like humans? It is not just about speaking, it is about thinking and feeling in certain ways. These cannot be easily taught. Over several days, they learned more about the Firstborn and their technology. The ancient ship contained libraries of knowledge about science, philosophy, art, and exploration. It was like having access to millions of years of accumulated wisdom. But with each passing day, the threat of the Devourers grew closer. Long range. Sensors detected movement in distant star systems. Something was coming their way. How long before they arrive? Admiral Shin asked. 3 months, perhaps 4, the Guardian replied. But they will not come alone. The Devourers have been building their numbers for thousands of years. Taeho felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. We need to start waking up other ships immediately. Yes, the Guardian agreed. And you need to start training humans to work with Firstborn technology. The future of all life in the galaxy now depends on humanity, learning to use gifts they were always meant to inherit. The ancient ship was no longer just a discovery, it was hope for the galaxy. And the clock was ticking toward a war that would decide the fate of all living beings. But for the first time in thousands of years, the galaxy had defenders who fought with both logic and heart. The Devourers had never faced anything like humans before. The real test was about to begin. The test began on a Tuesday morning. Taeho stood in the command center of the Eternal Vigilance with his team, nervous about what was coming. The Firstborn created these trials to determine if a species was ready for their inheritance, the Guardian explained. They are not tests of strength or intelligence, they are tests of wisdom and character. The room around them began to change. The walls disappeared, replaced by swirling colors and lights. Suddenly they found themselves standing in what looked like a conference room on Earth. This is a simulation, Bora said, reaching out to touch a chair that felt completely real. It is more than simulation, the Guardian replied. These scenarios are built from real events that happened to other species throughout galactic history. Your choices will determine not just your worthiness, but the kind of leaders humanity will become. The first test began immediately. They found themselves as commanders of a human colony ship that had discovered 2 different alien species fighting a war. Both species asked for human help against their enemies. We need to choose a side, Admiral Shin said. He had insisted on participating in the tests. We can't help both sides in a war. But as they studied the conflict, they realized it was more complex than they first thought. One species was technologically advanced but treated their own people badly. The other species was kind to each other, but had no respect for the environment. This is impossible, Wujin complained. Both sides have good points and bad points. That's exactly the point, HFY said quietly. The test isn't about finding the right answer. It's about how we approach impossible choices. Taeho thought carefully. What if we don't choose a side? What if we help both species find a better way to solve their problem? Somin shook her head. That's naive. In real conflicts, someone has to win. Does someone have to win? Taeho asked. Or can everyone win if we're creative enough? They spent hours working on a solution. Instead of helping one side destroy the other, they proposed sharing technology and knowledge. The advanced species could teach the other about science and medicine. The environmentally conscious species could teach about living in harmony with nature. The simulation accepted their solution. The warring species became allies instead of enemies. Interesting, the Guardian observed. Most species choose a side based on logic or emotion. Humans look for a third option that logic says doesn't exist. The second test was more personal. Each human found themselves alone, facing a choice that would affect millions of lives. Tejo was shown a dying planet. He could save it, but only by sacrificing his own life. No one would ever know what he had done. No one would remember his sacrifice. Bora faced a choice between saving a ship full of humans or a ship full of aliens. She could only save one ship, and both crews were looking to her for help. Wu Jin had to decide whether to reveal a secret that would hurt someone he loved but help thousands of strangers. So Min was offered power over an entire star system, but only if she promised never to trust anyone completely again. Admiral Shin was asked to choose between following orders that would lead to victory or disobeying orders to prevent a massacre. HFY had to decide whether to share dangerous knowledge that could be used for good or evil. Each of them struggled with their choice. These were not easy questions with clear answers. Tejo chose to save the planet even though no one would remember his sacrifice. Some things are worth doing even if no one ever knows you did them, he said. Bora found a way to save both ships by convincing them to work together. I refuse to accept that. I can only save one group. We find a way to save everyone or we're not trying hard enough. Wu Jin chose to tell the truth even though it would hurt someone he cared about. Lies protect feelings in the short term, but truth protects everyone in the long term. So Min rejected the offer of power. Power without trust is just another form of slavery. I'd rather be powerless and free than powerful and alone. Admiral Shin chose to disobey orders to prevent innocent deaths. Following orders is important, but following conscience is more important. HFY chose to share the dangerous knowledge but also created safeguards to prevent its misuse. Knowledge belongs to everyone, but everyone also has a responsibility to use it wisely. The Guardian watched all of their choices with interest. Each of you chose the difficult path, the path that required personal sacrifice for the greater good. This is very unusual. Is that good or bad? Bora asked. It is exactly what the firstborn hoped to see. Most species choose based on self-interest, even when they claim to be thinking of others. Humans genuinely put the welfare of others before their own. The third test was the most complex. They found themselves as leaders of humanity, facing the end of their solar system. The sun was dying, and they needed to evacuate everyone to new worlds. But there weren't enough ships for everyone. They had to choose who would live and who would die. This is horrible, Wu Jin said. How can we choose who deserves to live more than others? We can't, Tejo replied, and we won't. Instead of choosing who to save, they worked to find more ships, more resources, more options. They negotiated with alien species for help. They convinced enemies to become allies. They found ways to extend the sun's life to buy more time. You are refusing to accept the parameters of the test, the Guardian observed. Yes, Tejo said firmly. The test assumes we have to abandon some people to save others. We reject that assumption. In the end, they found a way to save everyone. It required enormous sacrifice and creativity, but they refused to accept any solution that left people behind. Remarkable, the Guardian said as the simulation ended. The firstborn built this test expecting species to make logical calculations about who was most valuable to save. No species has ever attempted to save everyone. The fourth test put them in command of advanced weapons facing a species that had committed terrible crimes against humanity. They had the power to destroy their enemies completely. They murdered millions of innocent humans, Admiral Shin said, angrily. They deserve to be destroyed. Do they? HFY asked quietly. What does that make us if we commit genocide in return? The test showed them the enemy species, creatures that looked like giant insects with advanced technology. They had indeed attacked human colonies and killed many innocents. But as the team investigated further, they discovered the insect species was acting out of fear. Humans were expanding into space so quickly that other species thought they were planning to conquer the galaxy. They attacked us because they thought we were going to attack them, Bora realized. So what do we do? So-min asked. Forgive them for murdering our people? We find justice without becoming murderers ourselves, Taeho decided. They chose to disable the enemy fleet rather than destroy it. Then they initiated communication, working to understand why the attacks had happened. It took patience and courage, but eventually they negotiated a peace treaty that protected both species. The fifth test was about leadership under pressure. They were given command of a failing space station with thousands of people aboard. Systems were breaking down. Resources were running out and panic was spreading. We need to maintain order, Admiral Shin said. Martial law might be necessary. Martial law will make the panic worse, So-min disagreed. People need hope, not more fear. They chose to be honest with the population about their situation while also showing them how everyone could help solve the problems. Instead of hiding behind authority, they worked alongside ordinary people to repair systems and manage resources. You turned a crisis into a community effort, the Guardian observed. Most leaders either hide the truth to prevent panic or use fear to maintain control. Humans do neither. The final test was the most challenging. They were offered a choice between power and service. You can rule the galaxy, the Guardian said. The firstborn technology gives you that power. You could make all species follow human laws and human ways. You could create peace through strength. Or, Taeho asked, or you can serve the galaxy. Use the power to help other species find their own paths, guide without ruling, protect without controlling. It was tempting to choose power. Humans could solve so many galactic problems if everyone simply followed human leadership, but they all knew what the right choice was. We choose service, Taeho said, speaking for all of them. Power corrupts, service elevates. The Guardian smiled, the first time they had seen him show such emotion. You have passed every test, he said. But more importantly, you have exceeded every expectation. The firstborn hoped to find a species worthy of their technology. Instead, they found a species that could surpass them. What do you mean? HFY asked. The firstborn were logical but cold. They solved problems through calculation. You solve problems through compassion. You don't just inherit their technology, you transform it into something better. The tests were over. Humanity had proven itself worthy of the greatest responsibility in galactic history. But the real test, the war with the Devourers, was still approaching. 2 months after the tests, long-range sensors detected the enemy approaching. The Devourer fleet was massive beyond imagination, thousands of mechanical ships that consumed everything in their path. They're 3 weeks away, Admiral Shin reported grimly, and they're bringing more ships than our worst estimates predicted. Taeho stood in the command center of the Eternal Vigilance, watching the sensor displays. The Devourer fleet looked like a swarm of metal locusts moving between the stars. How many ships do we have ready? He asked. Bora checked her reports. 7 firstborn ships are now active. We've managed to wake them up and get human crews trained on the basic systems. But the crews are still learning. It had been a frantic 2 months. Human volunteers from across the galaxy had come to train on the ancient ships. Each ship required at least 20 humans working together, speaking to the machines with clear voices and strong emotions. Wu Jin had become the chief instructor for human firstborn technology interface. The problem is that it takes time to build the right relationship with each ship, he explained. The ships need to trust their human crews, and the humans need to learn each ship's personality. Personality? Admiral Shin asked. Each ship is different, the Guardian explained. They were built over many centuries by different groups of firstborn. Each one has its own preferences for how humans should communicate with it. HFY had been working with the other awakened ships, learning their individual characteristics. The ship Morning Light responds best to gentle, respectful speech. The ship Thunder's Call prefers bold, confident commands. It's like learning to speak to different people. Soman was training the human crews in combat tactics. The good news is that each firstborn ship has more firepower than an entire human fleet. The bad news is that the Devourers have had thousands of years to multiply. The Devourers were not just ships. They were self-replicating machines that turned asteroids and planets into more of themselves. Every piece of matter they consumed became part of their growing army. How did the firstborn fight them before? Tejo asked the Guardian. With great difficulty and enormous losses, the Guardian replied. The Devourers learn from each battle. They adapt their tactics and improve their defenses. By the end of the war, they had become nearly unstoppable. Bora had been studying the Devourer ships captured in old firstborn records. They're not alive, but they're not just machines either. They have a kind of collective intelligence. Each ship shares information with all the others instantly. So when we destroy one ship, all the others learn from its death, Admiral Shin observed. That makes our job much harder. The human crews worked around the clock to prepare for battle. Each firstborn ship was a marvel of technology, but learning to use them effectively required more than just technical knowledge. You must speak to the ship with your whole being, the Guardian instructed a group of new trainees. The ship responds to your emotions, your intentions, your deepest beliefs about what you're fighting for. One young trainee, a woman named Kim Dayun, was struggling with her assigned ship, Starfire Guardian. I keep trying to give it commands, but it barely responds, she complained. What are you fighting for? The Guardian asked her. To win the battle, Daun replied. That is not enough. The ship needs to understand why winning matters to you personally. Daun thought for a moment. I'm fighting for my younger brother back on Earth. He wants to be an explorer like me someday. If the Devourers win, he'll never get that chance. She spoke to the ship again, but this time with real emotion in her voice. Starfire Guardian, help me protect my brother's future. The ship's response was immediate and powerful. All its systems came online at maximum efficiency. Perfect, the Guardian said. The ship now understands what victory means to you. It will fight harder because it knows why the battle matters. Meanwhile, Tejo was dealing with political problems. Representatives from various alien species had arrived to observe the coming battle. Some wanted to help, but others were suspicious of humanity's new power. Ambassador Veltar from the Centauri Republic was particularly concerned. These firstborn ships give humans enormous power over the galaxy. How do we know you won't use them to conquer us after you defeat the Devourers? Because that's not who we are, Tejo replied simply. Many species have said such things before gaining power, Veltar pointed out. HFY stepped forward. Ambassador, would you like to see how the ships actually work? She led Veltar to the command center and began speaking to the ship's systems. But when she tried to give commands based on conquest or control, the ship barely responded. Now watch, she said, and spoke with genuine care about protecting all species in the galaxy. The ship's response was immediate and powerful. The ships won't work for evil purposes, HFY explained. They respond to positive emotions and protective instincts. A human who wanted to conquer others couldn't use these ships effectively. This demonstration convinced several alien species to provide support ships and resources for the coming battle. But the biggest breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Bora had been experimenting with the ship's deeper systems and made a startling discovery. Tejo, you need to see this, she called excitedly. In the deepest levels of the Eternal Vigilance, she had found something the Guardian hadn't mentioned. A workshop where new technology could be created. The ship can build things? Tejo asked in amazement. Not just build, Bora explained. It can design new technology by combining firstborn knowledge with human creativity. Watch this. She spoke to the workshop systems about needing better weapons against the Devourers. But instead of asking for bigger guns, she asked for weapons that could turn enemies into allies. The ship's response was beyond anything they had imagined. It began designing weapons that didn't destroy Devourers, but reprogrammed them. Instead of consuming matter, the converted Devourers would start building and creating. This is incredible, Admiral Shin said. Instead of fighting the Devourers, we could convert them. The firstborn never thought of this approach. the Guardian admitted. They focused on destruction as the solution to the devourer threat. Humans think about conversion and redemption. The new weapons required days to build and test. They worked by sending specific frequencies that overwrote the devourer programming. Instead of consume and replicate, the new programming said build and create. But we need to get close enough to use these weapons, So Min pointed out. The devourers won't just sit still while we reprogram them. The solution came from combining human tactical thinking with firstborn technology. Instead of fighting the devourer fleet directly, they would use the superior speed of the firstborn ships to strike quick, targeted attacks. Hit-and-run tactics, Admiral Shin agreed. Convert a few devourers at a time, then retreat before the main fleet can respond. The converted devourers would then begin converting others, creating a chain reaction that could spread through the entire enemy fleet. As the devourer fleet drew closer, more alien species arrived to help. Some brought ships and weapons, others brought resources and supplies. A few species that had never cooperated before began working together for the first time. The threat of the devourers is uniting the galaxy, Haywan observed. Species that have been enemies for centuries are becoming allies. That's very human thinking, the Guardian said approvingly. Finding opportunity in crisis, creating unity from diversity. On the last day before the battle, Taeho gathered all the human crews together. 7 firstborn ships and their human operators were ready for the fight of their lives. We're not just fighting for humanity, he told them. We're fighting for every species in the galaxy. We're fighting for the right of all life to exist and grow and dream. Bora had made final adjustments to the conversion weapons. Remember, we're not trying to destroy the devourers. We're trying to heal them. Turn them back into what they were meant to be, builders instead of destroyers. Wu Jin had established communication links between all the human ships. Stay in constant contact. The ships work better when their crews are emotionally connected to each other. So Min had prepared tactical plans for every scenario they could imagine. Be flexible. The devourers will adapt to our tactics quickly. We need to adapt faster. Admiral Shin commanded the military escort ships. Our job is to protect the firstborn ships while they do their work. Don't try to be heroes. Work as a team. As night fell, the devourer fleet appeared on the edge of the star system. Thousands of mechanical ships that had consumed entire worlds were coming to destroy everything humanity had ever built. But for the first time in thousands of years, they would face an enemy that fought not just to destroy, but to heal. An enemy that turned weapons into tools of conversion and redemption. The battle for the galaxy was about to begin. The battle began at dawn. The devourer fleet entered the star system like a dark cloud that consumed light itself. Their ships moved in perfect formation, each one the size of a city. 15,000 enemy vessels, Admiral Shin reported from his command ship. Our sensors can barely count them all. Taeho stood in the command center of the Eternal Vigilance, watching the approaching swarm. His hands were steady, but his heart was racing. All human ships, this is Taeho. He spoke into the communication system. Remember, we're not here to destroy. We're here to heal. Understood, came Bora's voice from the morning light. Conversion. Weapons are ready. Starfire Guardian is prepared, reported Dayun, her voice strong and confident now. One by one, all 7 firstborn ships confirmed their readiness. Each ship hummed with power as their human crews spoke to them with courage and hope. The devourers attacked first. Beams of energy that could melt planets shot through space toward the human fleet. But the firstborn ships were fast, faster than anything the devourers had ever faced. Evasive maneuvers, Taeho called out. Stay close together, but keep moving. Thori, 7 ships danced between the enemy beams like leaves in the wind. Their shields deflected attacks that would have destroyed entire human fleets. Now, Taeho commanded. Begin conversion operations. The Eternal Vigilance shot forward, diving deep into the devourer formation. Bora spoke to her ship's weapons with all the compassion in her heart. Help them remember what they used to be, she said to the conversion beam. Show them the joy of creation instead of destruction. The beam struck a group of devourer ships. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the enemy vessels began to change. Their dark metal brightened. Their consuming weapons turned into building tools. "It's working!" Wu Jin shouted from the thunders. "Call. 3 Devourer ships have been converted." But the enemy fleet was learning. The converted ships were immediately attacked by their former allies. The Devourers had decided that converted ships were now enemies to be destroyed. "They're destroying their own ships rather than let them be converted," So Min observed grimly. "Then we need to work faster," Taeho replied. "All ships maximum conversion rate. Don't give them time to destroy the converted units." The battle became a race against time. The human ships darted through the Devourer fleet, converting enemies as quickly as possible. But the Devourers adapted their tactics, forming protective formations around unconverted ships. "We're not converting them fast enough," Admiral Shin reported. "At this rate, they'll overwhelm us through sheer numbers." Haewon had an idea. "What if we don't convert the ships? What if we convert their central command?" The Guardian appeared in the command center. "Dangerous. The Devourer command ship is the most heavily defended vessel in their fleet. But if we convert it, wouldn't all the other ships follow its new programming?" Taeho asked. "Possibly. But the command ship is protected by thousands of other vessels. Getting close enough would be nearly impossible." Bora's voice came over the communication system. "I volunteer to make the run at the command ship." "Absolutely not," Taeho replied immediately. "It's too dangerous." "Someone has to try," Bora said. "And the Morning Light is the fastest ship we have." Before anyone could stop her, Bora's ship broke away from the formation and shot toward the center of the Devourer fleet. Thousands of enemy ships turned to intercept her. "Bora, get back here," Taeho shouted. "Can't do that, old friend," Bora replied calmly. "This is bigger than any of us." The Morning Light twisted and spun through a maze of enemy fire. Bora spoke to her ship with all the love she had for her friends, her family, and every living thing in the galaxy. "We can do this together," she told the ship. "We can save everyone." The ship responded with power beyond anything they had seen before. It moved so fast that the Devourers couldn't track it. Their weapons couldn't find their target. But there were so many enemies. Slowly, the Morning Light began taking damage. Its shields flickered under the constant attack. "I'm not going to make it," Bora reported, her voice still steady. "Yes, you are," Taeho said firmly. "All ships, support Bora. Everything we have." The other 6 firstborn ships charged into the enemy formation. They didn't hold back anything. Every weapon, every bit of power, everything their human crews could give them. Wu Jin spoke to his ship's weapons with fury and determination. "Protect our friend. Clear her path." Dayun channeled all her love for her brother into her ship's shields. "Keep her safe. She's fighting for all of us." So Min commanded her ship's systems with the discipline of a trained warrior. "Focus fire on the command ship's defenses." Admiral Shin coordinated the supporting human fleet. "All ships concentrate on creating a corridor for the Morning Light." The combined assault created a path through the Devourer defenses. Bora's ship shot through the opening like an arrow, heading straight for the massive command vessel. "Almost there," Bora reported, preparing conversion beam. But the Devourer command ship was ready for her. It had weapons more powerful than any they had faced. A beam of pure energy shot out, striking the Morning Light directly. Bora, Taeho, screamed. The Morning Light was badly damaged, but it kept flying. Bora was hurt, but she was still alive. "I'm okay," she said weakly. "But I won't get another chance. This has to work." She spoke to the conversion beam with every bit of strength she had left. Not just her own strength, but the strength of every human who had ever dreamed of exploring the stars. "Show them what they could be," she whispered to the weapon. "Show them the beauty of creating instead of destroying." The conversion beam struck the Devourer command ship. For a long moment, nothing happened. The battle continued around them. Ships fired. Ships died. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. Then the command ship began to change. Its dark metal turned bright silver. Its weapons transformed into construction tools. Most importantly, it began broadcasting new commands to the entire Devourer fleet. Stop consuming, the new programming said. Start building, create instead of destroy, heal instead of harm. The effects spread like ripples in a pond. One by one, the Devourer ships began to change. Their weapons became tools. Their consuming drives became creative impulses. It's working, Wu Jin shouted. They're all converting. The greatest enemy the galaxy had ever known was transforming into its greatest ally. Thousands of ships that had consumed worlds were now ready to rebuild them. Bo-Ra's voice came weakly over the communication system. Did we do it? Did we save everyone? You did it, Bo-Ra, Taeho replied, tears in his eyes. You saved the galaxy. In the days that followed, the converted Devourers began their new purpose. They started rebuilding worlds they had consumed. They shared their advanced technology with other species. They became protectors instead of destroyers. The Guardian was amazed. In all the Firstborn's calculations, they never imagined this outcome. They thought the Devourers could only be defeated, not redeemed. That's the difference between humans and the Firstborn, Heywan said. The Firstborn saw the universe as a problem to be solved. Humans see it as a community to be healed. Bo-Ra survived her injuries and chose to remain bonded with the morning light. She became the first human to permanently merge with a Firstborn ship, maintaining her humanity while gaining the ship's knowledge and capabilities. I'm still me, she assured Taeho, but now I'm also more than me. I can feel the thoughts and dreams of the ship. We're partners in a way the Firstborn never imagined. Taeho accepted his role as the first guardian of the awakened ships. More Firstborn vessels were being found throughout the galaxy, each one waiting for human voices to wake them up. Wu Jin established training programs to teach humans how to communicate with Firstborn technology. Every human has the potential, he explained to new students. You just need to speak with your heart as well as your mind. So-Min created a new organization to protect the awakened ships and their crews. We're not military, she explained. We're guardians. Our job is to protect and serve, not to conquer. Admiral Shin worked with alien governments to integrate human-operated Firstborn ships into galactic defense networks. These ships belong to everyone, he insisted. They're humanity's gift to the galaxy. Heywan became the chief ambassador between humans and the converted Devourers. The former destroyers had vast knowledge about the galaxy and its history. They wanted to make amends for the damage they had caused. They remember everything they consumed, Heywan reported. Entire civilizations exist in their memory banks. They want to rebuild those worlds and bring back the species they destroyed. The galaxy entered a new age. Humans served as the bridge between organic life and artificial intelligence. The converted Devourers worked alongside organic species to heal damaged worlds and explore new frontiers. The Guardian watched it all with something that might have been pride. The Firstborn chose well, he said to Taeho. Humanity has exceeded every expectation. We had good teachers, Taeho replied. The Firstborn showed us what was possible. We just found a way to make it better. Years later, when new species reached the stars, they found a galaxy where former enemies worked together. They found humans who used their special gifts not to rule but to serve. They found ancient ships that responded to voices filled with hope instead of hate.